All right, hello everybody. Welcome back once again to another Muffin Maestro replay analysis where we again have a Zerg versus Protoss at the Diamond level. The way these things work is always me basically just spectating the person I'm going over here, and again today's Muffin Maestro, and we just give him ideas on how to better improve his play and help him understand more and more about things that are going on and, you know, basically everything StarCraft. We're learning here, guys.
Oh,
We're getting
yeah.
into it. We're getting involved. We're getting in the game. I'd like to give a different intro every single time. All right. Okay. So, yeah, I'm gonna times for this because oh, here we go. Hold on. We'll slow it down a little bit. Okay. So we have a probe being annoying as hell. The only time this really happens is even though this was an attempt at a 16 hatch. If a probe gets there, it means it's one of his first 12 probes. He just ran that shit across the map because he really wanted to block your hatchery. It's annoying, but I agree with what Muffin Maestro did right here, which is he just ran by the probe, and he took a third base instead of a natural. It's still his natural, but it's just located at the third. And I also agree with the fact that he did not hit optimal drone saturation before taking his other hatchery, and he's also opted to go for a 3 hatch before pool. I think in this situation like this, it's totally understandable. It's totally fine. I would say the biggest priority here is getting your hatchery down at your natural if you can. Because if the Protoss blocks this natural, it makes the game incredibly annoying for you. So, by all means, try your best to get your natural down, even if it's your third base, basically. I
I'm
like
really
it.
curious about that.
Yeah, no, it's really it's priority. It's definitely priority.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's my thoughts too.
But yeah, now you're going. Now this game now develops into you're just gonna play standard again. The only difference is you've gone 3 hatch 4 pool instead of hatch pool hatch, which is totally fine.
Yep.
Um, and also the fact that you've kind of hiccuped your economy just a tad by taking a slightly faster third than normal. This guy also hiccuped his own economy by running his probe over so fast, so it evens out. It's not a big deal.
Yep.
But yeah, so far, again, once again now, standard. We see a Protoss here who has a core almost done. This should mean a Nexus is also almost done. This build is looking like it's Gateway Nexus core. And we have a Chrono boosted Gateway. Whenever this happens, this is always a big recommendation I have in general. If you're a Zerg player, I would say spend your larva in this order. You want to basically like all your larva gets turned into drones up until the point when your hatcheries are done. Aside from the fact that you have like the 28 supply cushion, you've made your second overlord and now you have hatcheries finishing. You're making nothing but drones besides that. Or your third overlord, sorry. Or no, your second overlord. Good God. I'm fucking confusing myself right now. My point is when the pools are done and you make your queens, that's when you should also have another overlord starting, and this overlord is going to spawn right around the time when the gateway unit should be revealed, or maybe like 5 seconds later. It's like it depends on how well the saturation was in the beginning of the game with your split on your first mineral line, because you might have a little bit more minerals, like maybe 30 mineral more, 30 less, depending on how well you saturated close patches and stuff like that. But the biggest point is you're gonna hit that 28 cap with queens and drones, with an overlord in production. If your overlord spawns and no unit has hit your overlord in his base, you can rest assured you need to make like probably 6 zerglings, because there's going to be an adept attacking your base soon. If there is a stalker hitting your overlord, you can make drones, because you now know he made a stalker instead of a adept, and now you don't need to make lings that are going to sit there for no reason. The only exception to make like a ling is if you don't see a second pylon and you need to go scout like the sides of his base, be like, or the sides of the map. Sorry, where you're like, are you proxying me or what? But yeah, keep that in mind. That's a huge tip for actually exploding your early economy, and it makes a difference because it all carries through the game.
Yep. Actually didn't see that he chronoed his gate. I think my overlord saw it, but I didn't look at the screen at the time?
Always like look for it. It's really important.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is I think I'm gonna back it up for a second. I think you
Yep.
dove a little too far with your Overlord. Because if you think about it, like right now, I would say this Overlord needs to turn around right now. Because
Okay.
there's if you look at the pylon, if you look at like everyone's vision or okay, you actually can't see the pylon radius if you click the pylon. But the point is like if you look at where the Overlord is right now and the pylon right now, that's like that much distance diagonally. That's like the pylon field, and it goes in a circle like that around the whole thing. There's no way a building could be on the right side of his gas or below his mineral line right now.
No.
So the Overlord right now should 100% be turning around, because if he doesn't, like, his core is done, and as soon as his core is done, he wants to make some tech. Like, he's going to want to put his tech down. So if you have your Overlord stay like kind of like fuck around in the main way too long, you're not actually going to see his tech when you actually could have. Because if he does make a stalker first, your Overlord's going to get picked pretty quick. And if there is a chance that instead of making a second gateway here, he could have made it tech. And also, if he makes a second gateway, that also is another tell that he is making another gateway instead of making tech. Things like that are it just gives you more information as to like what he's doing basically. Like a second gateway before tech probably means he's not going for like a really fast Twilight Council. You still could fight against like DTs or something like that, but even if he was doing it now, you already know it's not going to be as fast. The tech itself is going to be a little bit delayed no matter what he makes because he made a second gateway. So it gives you more breathing room, basically. But you notice though he actually threw down a Twilight Council the second he made the gate, because if you look at his Nexus, he's not making probes. So that's another tell. Now if your Overlord would have turned around right now, you could go, oh, he's actually hiccuping his own economy because he's not making probes now because he's saving for tech, and he's throwing multiple things down at the same time. And this could be a lot of information for you to work with right here. Because now you would know he's got a Twilight Council, which would mean that you'd want to take like 250 gas. And now you also could feel confident in the fact that if you look at the Nexus, like we're going to go on normal speed. Watch the Nexus for just a second here and look at the difference between when it is and when it is not building a probe. Look at the crystal on top of it.
Yeah.
You notice how like little spirals go around the crystal on top with like little blue lines when he is making a probe?
Yeah.
If you look at things like that, it tells you a lot about what the Protoss is doing without even seeing what the Protoss is doing. You're like,
I
oh,
actually didn't know that.
yeah. You could be like, okay, this guy is actually not building probes right now. What the fuck is happening? Is he like saving for tech? Yeah. And then also the big thing too to look at is look at his chrono boost energy. And this guy, you did see, if you would have looked at it with your Overlord, you saw he chronoed a gateway, and he has almost 100 energy again on his main, and he hasn't chronoed yet on his natural, which means this guy is not chronoing shit, which means that your drone count should definitely be doing well against his probe count right now. Normally, if a Protoss chrono boosts their probes multiple times, just to throw this out there, you should not surpass their worker count until about 34. And you're about to surpass it at around 26. So you're crushing him already in terms of money.
Interesting.
And it's because he's not chronoing anything and he's cutting probes. But yeah, it's little things like that tell you a lot. And if I were you and I saw that, I would tell myself this guy is going to probably be an aggressive player, like really all in. And look exactly what he's doing. He's making charge lots.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I think my Overlord, I was planning on checking the gases. I think that was my plan going so deep.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't do that, I think. I was a bit distracted with the wrong placement of the hatcheries. So.
Yeah. It's all right.
Yeah.
It definitely throws you off your game a little bit when the probe blocks you like that. But I think you handled it overall pretty well so far with the early game. The biggest mistake, though, so far is what we just talked about, though. Like the Overlord pathing. You got to make sure to be a little more efficient with it. Otherwise, good stuff so far.
I got to say, after watching your analysis, I've been much better with it. So
That's good.
But this game, apparently not. So.
Well, it's... the big thing is you just... The reason why I had to tell you is because you did a big shift box command where the Overlord went kind of like down to the middle of the Nexus and then way to the left, kind of where the like not really where the pylon is, but like a bit to the left of the Nexus, and then it was gonna go up, and that's like an extra 15 seconds for it to go down and then backtrack where it came from, that you didn't need to have in there.
Yep.
All right, and then seeing this,
just I don't look and the Overlord just flies over a couple of gateways or something. I don't know.
yeah.
Didn't see, I guess.
The biggest thing with your first Overlord, I'm gonna just give you like try and give you a tip here that I think will maybe make sense, but when you're first what's it called? The big thing to look for when you like what you should be looking at his base the whole time, and the big thing to look for when you should look back at your base, if you don't have like the internal timer yet developed where it's like, I just know right now that I should look at my base because I know right now I have energy for a queen inject, and I know right now I have to creep tumor. If every time you're looking at your base, you're like always just keeping tabs on it, you're like, okay, I'm like 7 energy away. Okay, now I'm 4 energy away. Okay, now I got it. If you're like always kind of like checking, a good thing to do when you're early game, when you're against Protoss, that first scout is really, really important. It'd be totally okay if you focused your time on the Overlord, and when the Overlord is moving, you're looking in his base still, even though you're not touching the Overlord because it's going to where you just told it to go. You're then controlling your hatcheries off of a control group, and if you see like 3 larvae, you just like you have all hatcheries selected, you hit S, and you have 3, maybe 4 larvae. You know that it's automated larva. Inject is still not ready yet, and you're fine. But the second you see like you have 7 or 8 larvae, you could be like, all right, well, I need to go back to my bases now and inject because a big round just popped off. So I should take a moment to go back to my base and inject, creep, and then go back to my Overlord for just a moment here again and look and see what I'm dealing with. Because
that's a really good tip.
Yeah,
actually,
it's all about how much.
Keeping an eye on larva instead.
Yeah, larva will tell you everything because it's impossible to have like 6, 7, 8 larva if you did not just have an inject pop off.
It just makes so much sense. So I'm like, why the fuck didn't I think of that myself? You know?
It's all good, dude.
Yeah, no, it's really nice. This is the kind of detailed stuff you say that I really loved it.
Yeah.
So
it makes a difference because now it'll make it a little bit more efficient for you because now it's something minor for you to look at, which takes a lot more of your brain attention off of your own build that's trying not to fuck it up. And instead you can look at his build and try to prepare for something you're going to expect. Like look at his chrono energy, look at his probe production, and look at the pylons, look at the tech. And if you're like, okay, this guy's not investing as much into economy, I think he's going to invest more into timing, more into an attack. Or let's say it's complete opposite. He's spam chronoing his fucking nexuses as much as possible, and you're like, all right, this guy is greedy as hell. He's still playing safe because he walled his natural off. But now I know that I can also be kind of greedy because he's nonstop chronoing his probes. So I don't have to worry about getting attacked as fast because he's gearing up his economy first, and then he's going to go for an attack later.
Yep.
And then upon what you just saw there, that was good. That was a good read. You saw the prism. You saw gateways, multiple gateways on 2 bases. I'm going to pause one more time and say this is also really important. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this against Protoss and he opened up Stalker, you've seen his tech, you don't really feel like you needed to make Lings early to be safe, always make 1 Zergling, no matter what. If you have not made one yet, always make 1 Zergling when you make the Roachworn. Just combine it. And that 1 Zergling when you make the Roachworn, if you know what tech he's doing, you're not worried about proxies, just split your Lings up to go here. Okay, go to everyone's vision. Go here and go here. I think you can see my pings, right?
No.
Okay, well, I'm just saying go to both his possible thirds. Go to the...
See my ping?
I can see yours. I'll do it again. Can you see mine now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd go to one... You'd leave 1 Zergling at both of those mirror lines. And then that would, like... After scouting, if you had a Ling there, you would have had one if you made Ling do that when you made the Roachworn. And then upon seeing the fact that he has up like how many gates have you actually seen? You've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 gates, no third. You can assume that you're going to be dealing with a really big timing because it's 5 gate robo as far as you know, and it's most likely going to have more gates than that too if he's really committed to it. So right now for you, I would say this is the time. I love that you're taking gases 3 and 4, and this is the time when you should stop all drone production and make all roach production, and you would hold this if you did that.
I think that's what I'm doing, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot the links this game, again, because I was distracted, I think. So I usually do that.
Look at production right now.
Yeah, nothing.
No, you made drones.
Oh shit! I made 4 drones. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you have all the information right now. If you had lings there especially, you would know that this is an all-in, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure I knew that the pressure was coming. I just...
You made drones again.
More drones.
You're droning a lot, dude. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like if you just like, you know, really paying attention to his base, focusing more on what his build is as a reaction at first, it'll help you a lot. Because your build never really changes that much. You know, it's always similar. So yeah. And this is why you're gonna die though. If those were like, I think you just made 4, then 9. I think you just made 13 drones. If those were all roaches, you would hold this.
Yeah.
Because now you're making roaches, but now it's like, oh god, it's a little late.
Yeah.
Yo, Wolf, thank you for the raid, dude.
But,
Doing a little bit of a coaching lesson right now.
A small surprise. I
Much
win
love, man.
this game. Actually, that's my first analysis with a win.
Let's see it, dude. You still could pull it out with good micro and good positioning and stuff, but this is definitely like not a great position for you to be in right now. This is hard to come back from.
Yeah. Sure.
And he's definitely not really maximizing his zealots right there. For sure.
No, he's not expanding behind this either. So.
Yeah, he's fully all in and he's chilling. He's just having a powwow. Your spines are going to help a little bit, just buying you time. And
yeah, that was my thought too.
The only way you really win in a situation like this, I'm going to give you a tip here. This is really important. That you should try. If you ever, here's the best way to say this. If you've ever made a mistake and you're like, oh shit, that's a lot of zealots. A great thing you can do is, the spines were a nice idea, but I think you could do something even better than that. And it would be, your third is dead because there's a bit of a drone oversight here. You don't really know, you didn't know it was coming as fast as it was, and you were a little too greedy. So you pulled your drones back and you left that base. If you would have sacked the third, and while you sack the third, you group up roaches at the natural, and you don't wall your natural off, but instead you make a few evo chambers to make it fucked up in your natural. Like if you made an evo chamber next to your creep tumor, near the, like where that high ground cliff is, and then above that, space it by 1 gap and make another evo chamber, and then make another evo chamber again above that to wall it off. So it's like a door. His zealots will get so stupid running into your base because they'll come into a hallway one by one by one by one, and he has to physically take time then to focus fire your buildings, which are going to, like an evo chamber is something that builds super fast. It buys you so much time to be able to kill so many zealots before the wall breaks. And then if you really want to make it even crazier, you can extend the wall as he breaks it. Like you can be like, okay, he's going to kill my bottom evo chamber with like 6 zealots because he's in the hallway and he's also on the right side of it where the creep tumor is, and he's breaking it down. And I'm going to make another evo chamber to the left of that and another one right above that. So now my roaches are going to have another choke point to use or something like that. It takes practice to do it, but you can do it before he's actually in your base because you see him, you're sacking a base basically. It's a great way to it's like a tourniquet for yourself. And you're going to stop the zealots from spreading too hard. Basically, you're just going to sacrifice your third and be like, okay, it stops here.
Yeah. I usually do that against ling timings.
Yeah, it's really good. It makes a big difference against melee units.
Yeah.
I don't know why he's running away though. That's a mistake.
No, me neither. That's why he loses.
Yeah, 100%. That's why he loses. He cut his own economy to all in you, and then he just only killed your third. So yeah, for him now,
he still hasn't made a third.
Exactly. Like he's not really like you're still ahead now. And the thing that sucks about what he's doing is he's sacrificed so much of his economy in terms of gas that he doesn't really have a lot of power gas units. He has 1 immortal, and zealots trade horribly against roaches when you have a lot of them. So he's given you enough time now to just like kite him all day. Oh, nice observer kill. Alright, and not bad. So for you, you haven't actually seen the third, and once again, that's still just a huge thing. A lot of times in a lot of situations against Protoss, or against anyone in general, not even Protoss, it's just against your opponent, it's a much better understanding as if you should or should not attack depending on how many bases they have. And knowing that they have a third or not is not only does that give you an ability to like know if you want to, if you can attack that area, but it just gives you so much more like power of the game, because it creates more of an advantage for you. Like a base trade, you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, you know if you should base trade, if you're going to be defensive, if you want to even be defensive. It's a lot of missing information if you don't know this.
Yeah. I have a question.
Sure.
At my starting third location, you say I built a Evo wall. Do you
That's
think
fine.
this is a good idea? Because I saw all these zealots and I was afraid for a run by. So
I don't mind it. I've done things like this myself before as well. The only thing about it that is not necessarily going to be great is that now he's switching into Immortals, and this is great early. Like if you would have done this faster, like if you would have known it was coming and you were like, I really want to save the third, instead of like, this is now the tourniquet behind the wall here. That would be that'd be fine. But now at this stage, it's probably not as impactful. I would say what would be better, instead of blindly going, okay, he's gonna, because here, hold on, let me say this in a different way. It's gonna hopefully enlighten you and the way you should think about this. Instead of saying, I'm going to blindly build this wall here because he ran away with a lot of zealots and they could come back at any time, it'd be better for you to scout for his expansions. Because if you would have seen the fact that he's taking a third now, it opens up a lot of breathing room for you, because now you know he's not going to flood you. Now there's still a chance he could attack you, but you have more than enough to defend yourself. And also the other thing too is if you actually scouted his third and you saw his army and where it was, that gives you a lot of like comfort in knowing that his army is not missing now, and now it's defensive. So there's no reason to feel like you're pressured. There's no possibility that he's going to be attacking your third, because he's actually defending his.
So you just keep on telling me all my mistakes in this game. So
you
would definitely attack now. Or?
Biggest thing I would be doing if I were you is I would be using my changelings to scout where he is and what he's doing. And if I scouted him and I saw, okay, this guy has, if we back it up just for a second, I'm going to back it up just really quick, because he actually just recently added those Templars. Right now, if I were in the game with you right now, or if I was you, you have a lot of Ravagers, you have a lot of Roaches, you have Overseers. You could make 3 changelings right now, and those 3 changelings you could run 1 into his natural, run 1 into his 4th base, and run 1 into his 3rd base. So you could see any possible expansion he has, and you could also see if he has anything in his natural. You could also possibly see his new tech, which would reveal Immortals for you, but you would see nothing but Zealots and Immortals. If you saw that, I would say it would be a great idea to attack right now, because all you got to do is you got to push forward, lure him into taking a fight, and the second he takes a fight, kite backwards. Zealots will charge and bounce into Roaches one time before they fall off. A Roach actually runs faster than a Zealot without charge going, and charge is a cooldown that has, it's only used once every 7 seconds. So what would happen is, and also if you're kiting too, the Zealots charge forward way out of Immortal attack range, and they die to Roaches while you stay out of Immortal attack range. So what would happen is you would bleed out his Zealot line really hard if you just kept poking in, backing up, poking in, backing up. He would lose some Roaches, sure, here and there, but he would lose Zealots. He would lose like 3 Zealots for every 1 Roach you lose, roughly, if you do it decently. And the second you like thin out the Zealot line enough to be like, instead of him having 23 like he does right now, once he has like 5, you could then be like, all right, let's dive on the Immortals. And you could, at that point, if you take a really good fight, you could not only kill his third, but if you killed his entire army, you could even shove further into his natural and possibly just win the game. And that would be a great window of opportunity for a Roach Ravager. But the second he gets the second he gets Storm, your army gets a lot shittier. So you want to know like what he's doing and when he's doing it. So scouting with like a changeling or something is really, really, really important. You want to really know that.
Yeah.
And now I would say if you scouted, that would be great. But at this point now, if we look at the fact that now he just made Templars and Archons, if you were already attacking him, this would not matter because it would take a while for him to get energy to get Storm. But if you saw that he has this now, I would say the next best thing to do would be you could still attack him, but now instead of trying to like shove really far in and pull him backwards with charge kiting, you should just Corrosive Bile like prod and pick at him. Just like throw some biles at his army and back up, throw some biles at him, back up. Because if you, one big thing that it does for you is not only does it give you the ability to possibly kill his stuff, but it also gives you the ability to safely spread your creep. Because right now, if this Protoss was a little more active and he had an observer, there would be nothing stopping him from killing your creep. As well, like there's no pressure, and you have every means to have pressure because you didn't go mass hydras this game, you went mass roaches. So yeah. Mass roaches have way shittier value the more you get, the more you let your Protoss opponent also get. Like you're maxed, you should definitely be looking for a fight.
Mm-hmm.
These units, the roaches are great early game, but they scale so bad. Excuse me.
Listen.
I like that you're trying to fight here. I think you should keep going with it, and then your units you rebuild here should be. Honestly, I would say building hydras with losing roaches and rebuilding into hydras would be great. It would be fine right now because it's not the game's kind of weird and you don't have a greater spare yet. It opened up with an all-in.
Yeah.
That was a good fight.
I think what I'm doing here, I'll start to rotate into Brood Lords eventually. I think.
Yeah, that's good. I definitely think you have the ability to do that. Oh my God, that's. These fights, I just gotta throw it out there. These fights are super sketchy. They're really sketchy. If this guy was a little more active with his storms and he ran into that, there's a lot of damage you could take, and it's. I would say the biggest thing that was a good fight for you, but that was only because your Protoss opponent played poorly there.
Yeah. Okay.
The biggest thing to avoid is getting yourself in the situation where he has Templar if you've gone roaches. Roaches are just so fast. And the reason why you made them is obviously because he opened up with the charge lot all in, which is I completely agree with. But you have the ability to be so much more active with them early, and you really need to do that. Because these fights could seriously be so bad for you if he was microing a little better.
Yeah, I just saw the Templar and jumped on it.
I think it's a bold move, and it's juicy if it works. But if he stormed at the right time and he had his zealots run forward and cover the Templar, 100% you would be running away with your roaches all red or dead.
Yeah, and this is actually the reason I chose this replay, because I haven't really been able to go a bit late game in these analysis, and I want you to tell me what I do and do wrong, and
Sure.
Also if you could tell me what I do right, because you do a lot of telling me what I do wrong, and then I just started doubting myself. So
Okay, yeah.
you don't have to brag or anything, you know, but just tell me like this is a good move, and then I know, and then I know, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, your creep spread is pretty good. Okay, creep spread's not bad.
Thank you. Well, you don't have to. You don't have to say that just to make
No.
you feel good, you know.
No,
but,
it's actually good because you have the entire right and the left side of the map covered, which is really important because right now you have very limited amounts of ways a prism can surprise you, which is super important. But I will say this, okay? Judging off what we just saw just now, you have an insane fucking bank, which is awesome. But what I would say you should do is these 8 corruptors you're making right now. This is how I would play this out if I were you. The 8 corruptors you have right now, I would make them all broodlords immediately. Or like you already have some out even. I would make about 8 broodlords though, because he doesn't have stalkers, he doesn't have archons, he has very few Templar, he has very little amounts of anti-air on the ground, but he does have buildings because he's playing StarCraft, so they're still going to be useful, and he still has units that can still be killed. 8 Broodlords is great if he doesn't have anything that's going to fight back, realistically. But then what I would do is I would actually... What's up?
Yeah, just pointing out I have 5 more corruptors.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
You have so much money to just max out. I would say I would love it if your entire ground army would now actually go into suicide mode, and you would just run it down into one of his bases, like preferably one where he's not currently at, and just kill as much as you could. Like you could literally split it in half, and you could send half your army down to his bottom middle base, the 6 o'clock base, and the other half could go to the right where your creep is, kind of creeping into his third area, and it could run down into his natural, and you could try to like, if there is no third there, you could run into his natural, and you could like try to kill some probes or something. Just do as much damage as you can to his infrastructure. Even if you don't do any damage though, it's okay, because if you just go pure Corruptor Broodlord right now with Ling support, you're gonna win the game. It's so easy. Yeah. The big thing to keep in mind is as soon as the Protoss player is going into if the Protoss player is going into a formidable army in the air, like carrier for instance, you want to have as little ground army as possible, especially if the ground army he has is not something that's going to be able to deal with Broodlords. So I would say your Roaches, your Ravagers are complete wastes at this point, and your Hydras are like only about maybe like 25% as effective as your Corrupted Broodlord. Like it's all just weak supply basically.
Yeah. I think my mindset right here is I've seen him on 4 bases, and I don't really have a feeling for how his bank and his supplies. So I want to stay safe and just make the Broodlords before I max out on Corruptors. I think was my plan, and then I made the Broods, and I saw, oh shit, I only made 3, so I'm going to lose a bit more army now.
I'm gonna pause one more time and just kind of relate to that comment basically.
Yeah.
So if this was a position where you scouted a little bit more and you paid attention a little bit to the first scouting, if you would have known that his opening build was a little economy shitty and really all in focused, like really just focus more on like the aggression part of it, that would have been a little bit of a tell for you to say, all right, well, I'm gonna have a lead already in the game in terms of economy because this guy's so focused on like his tech and cutting probes and stuff here and there. And then if you would have saw his third is super late, you would know this guy doesn't have a big bank, which is even more reason to make him bleed zealots because he can't afford to do that. Because if you know that, if you would have scouted with like a changeling or something and you're like, okay, this guy's third is going down ridiculously late, which it was, because he stayed on 2 bases with zealots for so long, that he's starving on money right now, and you are 100% okay. Like what it means is if you take one fight and you win one fight, the game's over. This guy does not have remax potential. So giving yourself the biggest, most powerful army for that one fight is definitely in your favor, which would mean even if you throw away this entire army that you have on the ground right now, it'd be worth it for you. And I like that it's engaging right now. I hope it all dies. You can maybe kill some of his army at the same time, but I hope your entire ground army dies here, and you just make better stuff.
No. You see, I'm not leaving the creep, dude. After the first 3 replay analysis you did, I'm not leaving creep.
It makes sense. I actually don't really mind that much that it's still here, but because you're still going to beat his army either way. But just keep in mind that if you pay attention, if you keep tabs on what he's capable of doing, and all the delayed economy he's had this game, means that you definitely have advantages here. You're more than, and you have such a ridiculous bank. You're more than able to pull that off. Yeah. But
I just want to say that I knew that I had an advantage in this game, but I feel like I've thrown so many games attacking into Protoss like this with the cannons and shield batteries and stuff, and then I lose a little bit too much, and I don't have like the overview, or I'm not sure how to say it in English, but I don't really have I lose a little bit too much, and then the snowball starts rolling, and they just crush me, and then I'm in the Hydra Remax position that I was in the last game we saw. So I think that's also why I'm really careful here. So
I don't mind it. I don't have to really harp on you about the other stuff, but
that's fine.
the like I gotta say one more thing about it, and then I'll move on, and I'll give you some micro tips here.
Sure.
Just imagine though, if you had more Corruptor right now instead of these Roach Ravager and Hydra, and your corruptor just were like one-shotting carriers or two-shotting carriers, and suddenly this carrier army is entirely dead, and the only thing you got to worry about is like a couple of Templar and 2 Stalker, and now then that's it, and then he's dead, and then all the supply you have that's excess could be like, let's say you have like 20 supply that you're like, I have 30 corruptor and 8 broodlord, and I have 20 supply still available, and that could be 40 zerglings, and 40 zerglings could be what you could use to do something like, if he's busy here, 40 zerglings attack down here, or they wrap into the natural back here, and they just wipe out the base. Because if this is also why I really say +1 range and stop and go into melee, because if you get adrenal gland +3 melee zerglings, they just fucking annihilate bases in seconds. It's ridiculous how fast it goes. So yeah, it's really nice to have an optimal army. Your army is a little non-optimal right now. But moving on from that, I would say the biggest thing you can do here in this fight, I'm going to back up and show you. Right now, I don't mind it so far. You're engaging with, you're trying to pick off a unit. You did. You're starting an engagement. Right now, you have to be very careful with your broodlords. If your opponent runs away from you, you should chase him. But the second he turns at you, if you're at all worried that whatever he has on the ground is going to be able to possibly overpower your broodlords, what you should do is memorize a broodlord's attack speed, which is a little bit less than 2 seconds. And what you do is every time he pushes forward towards you, you attack the ground with your broodlords, and then literally count to like half a second, or just like try to get a feel for it, but like wait like half a second in your head, and then turn him around, or like maybe like a fourth of a second. Just wait for like a brief moment, and then turn him around. Like run away. If he's running at you, run opposite of where he's coming. Like just run away from him for 2 seconds, which is actually, it's exactly 1.79, but it could be like roughly 2 seconds. And then attack the ground again. And if he's still chasing you, do the same exact thing again. Wait for like a fourth of a second, turn around, run away. Because if you do this, if you repeatedly do this, your broodlords, it's really hard for him to actually DPS your broodlords down. And you repeatedly throw shitloads of broodlings into his face to stuff up his army, and it staggers his units that come forward towards your broodlords, and it reduces the amount of broodlords, the damage you take on your broods, so, like immensely, because half his army is actually choked up on broodlings all the time. And then on top of that, if you retain broodlords longer, our broodlord itself has an actual auto attack, and if you stagger his units, it's really easy for broodlords to focus fire without you microing it. If he has like 20 units coming at you at once, there's a good chance 10 broodlords might shoot like 1 unit, 2 unit, 1 unit, 2 unit, and they might split their damage out a lot. But the second he staggers and he's got like 2 units coming in, 2 more behind that, 3 more behind that, 2 more behind that, because broodlings are like, we're trying to fucking block you all day. Suddenly your broodlords, you don't even tell them to do it other than saying attack the ground. But now it's like all the broodlords go, that's the closest unit to me, and there's only 1 or 2 of them. It focus fires for you, and then it's really, you start popping his units actually left and right, because the broodlords actually kill shit so much faster. Again, because it focus fires for you, and then more broodlords stay alive longer, so you have more DPS just output going all the time anyways. Because if you notice here, your broodlords kind of chill. They push forward, they get in range to start shooting. Like right now, he pushes forward now because he gets a little ballsy with his carriers and stuff, and your broods kind of chill, and the storms and stuff. They should be backing up right now.
Yeah.
And now you're just eating storms hard. And if this guy had more like Blink Stalker or Archon or more Storm in general, you could have lost these broodlords. And if you lose the broodlords, you lose complete control of the fight.
Yeah.
So, good focus fire on the carriers with the corruptors and stuff like that. Good covering your broodlord basically, but just try to move the fight with your opponent with your broods. Like pull him back. Like if he's gonna chase you, pull him with you, and if he's gonna run away, try to chase him. Which is why, and you don't have to do it yet, but eventually you will. The better you get with this. It's why infestors are so good, because there is not a single unit in the game that is faster than a broodlord if it is fungled. So it makes this push and pull technique really easy to do if you have the unit fungled. It does add another micro element to the fight though, which is it makes it a lot harder to execute, because now you have to balance chaining a fungal periodically while balancing your broodlord line.
Yeah.
But with practice, you'll it's. I won't say you're just gonna get it. It'll be easy, because like a lot of GM players can't even do it. Like that's just like, what the fuck, this is hard. But it's if you're gonna start playing like this now, you're gonna develop good habits for yourself that'll make it easier for you to get used to it later.
Yeah.
Like, I think a perfect example of it is ViBE, if you've ever watched her play. She's one of the Zerg players that I would say can micro late game Zerg better than a lot of other Zergs. And it's because she did what you're doing now, which is she got used to it early. She got used to it before she was like able to get GM with it. So it's good. What's up?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I've been watching your stream for 3 or 4 years, I think. So I've always tried to imitate your style because I really like the macro heavy late game kind of idea. Like you see Cyril just kicking ass right now because he always wants to go for the late game, you know. So
yeah.
So that's been my mentality always, but I don't really get to practice it that much because I usually die before I get to Broodlords. So.
Yeah, I would say your late game, like your late game it's a work in progress, right? It's not bad.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think it's bad at all. It has room to improve on what I just saw. If you do that, it's going to immensely improve it. You're going to be like, wow, Broodlords fucking own if you just do that push pull thing.
Yeah.
And then your overall like macro ability to just generate an economy, to follow a build, to creep spread is not bad at all. You're above Diamond League in that. Your biggest weakness is your reads on your opponent and your scouting. And one of the biggest things we can do with Protoss that we talked about earlier is the larva technique, where it's like you're staring at his base, even though you're taking brief moments and you're like, oh, look, a larva surge. Let's look at my base for a brief moment while I go back. Stuff like that will help you a lot. But really just getting an idea of things to look for and just trying to categorize your opponent to go aggressive, standard, greedy. One of those 3 categories. And then trying to play against them accordingly. You play a little safer against aggressive players. You can play standard as fuck against standard players, and you can play either all-in counter-aggressive against greedy players, or you can just be even greedier if you want to play an ultra macro game. It's your call. And you like to go the macro route, which is what I also do a lot. And that's totally fine. That's you just gotta make sure if you're gonna go extra greedy, try and scout him again once you've committed to that, because you want to know what the follow-up is. You don't want to be blind. It just being like, okay, well, you have a fuckload of money. What's happening? I don't know what you're doing. You want to like have some idea of what's going on next after. Yeah,
because I think that's actually what I need, like more like what you just said, like a main idea of something to improve, because since the first kind of analysis games you did, I've been like staring at the larva to not larva cap like in the first 5 minutes, and
that's really good.
You know, I don't want to get smacked by the senpai on my wrist and just leave the game because of larva cap, you know. So
well, if you notice,
so I've been losing even more in the early game. Yeah. Sorry.
This time around, I haven't really harped on your economy and your build too much because
no, but that's fine.
Good.
And I know that I do mistakes, you know, but I know how to improve those things. I just need to have an overall way to direction to go.
Yeah, no, it's good. Like you're definitely above Diamond League with your overall build order and your your mechanics are above Diamond. They are like your build mechanics. So I can definitely see the improvement you've made. Because if I was watching this and you were like, oh, I'm Diamond League, I'd be like, I can see why you're Diamond League, and it's not because of your macro. You're Diamond League because of your decision making in certain things, and it's literally 100%. It's your scouting. That's a big downfall for you.
You know, that's a really good, great compliment coming from you, dude.
Yeah, I like your macro, man. It's very capable of getting masters already.
Yeah, thanks.
And
well, I'll just continue, and I'll focus more on scouting now and try to react. And I won't take more of your time, dude. You've done a really, really great job again.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
So thanks.
Yeah, man. Work on it, and you're gonna be good, dude. You're gonna be good.
Well, so yeah, we can do that when you finish the video. So I have something more to tell you, but we can do that after. So thanks.
Are you talking about today, or are you talking about in the future?
Yeah. Okay. No, just right now, but yeah.
Is it? What do you want to tell me now? I'm interested now.
Now it's just want to know how much to pay you, dude.
Okay.
We didn't agree, and this is taking a long ass time. So.
All right. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. All right, guys.
dude.
Thanks for watching another edition of Replay Analysis with me, ViBE, and Muffin Maestro. I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you hit that like button. Peace, everybody.